Hi everybody. In this short lecture I'll be talking a little bit more about natural law theory. And to begin, I'd like to talk a little bit about what natural law theory is not. First, we should understand that there's a difference between natural law theory and the theory of nature. The theory of nature talks about different principles like laws of gravity and other things that you're going to find in our physical environment that happen automatically. It's not prescriptive and it has nothing to do with morals or moral behavior. It's just the way that we observe things happening in nature. Now, natural law theory is prescriptive. It's a moral theory having to do with what morals we should support within the essential nature of a human being. So it's also important to understand that natural law theory is not seen as something that is constructed by human beings. It's something that occurs naturally, and it's something that we are born with. So the idea here is that every human being shares the same characteristics, and therefore they're born having certain rights already intrinsically within them or inherently within them. Now, obviously there are some questions as to whether or not a person can be born already having these rights, and we'll touch on that in just a little bit. You should know that natural law theory is a very ancient philosophy, and that it even goes back to the time of Aristotle. And as you read in your textbook, Aristotle was one of the key thinkers on natural law theory. However, many more people have supported natural law theory, and some of those people we've already talked a little bit about so far. Locke was one of those people, and Thomas Jefferson supported natural law theory. And so you can find supporters of natural law theory all the way from ancient times up until today. So another key idea associated with natural law theory, as you probably noticed in the text, is that just as Kant, this would be a set of rights that is universal to everybody and can also be seen in the Declaration of Human Rights set out by the United Nations. Some of the rights proposed by people over the years have been that we have a right to life, we have a right to liberty or freedom, we have a right to equality, and not to be enslaved. We have the right to pursue happiness, and these things are just all found within our humanness, and we are born with these rights, and so therefore they should be supported in all cultures, everywhere, and are for all human beings, no matter what they believe in or what they follow. So there are some obvious problems with this theory. One is that, first of all, you need to believe that these rights exist and that you're born with them. So that would be the first thing to take a look at. And another problem with the theory is exactly which rights do we have or are we born with? I mentioned a few, but other rights that have come up that people believe is that we should have a right to education. We should have a right to having a house. We should have a right to food and water. And so there are all sorts of different rights that are seen as valuable, and it's hard to determine which ones we're born with, which ones come naturally within the realm of a human being. And Ayn Rand is a philosopher who questioned these rights. We will touch on her a little bit more in the course later, but she always asked the question, okay, if we have these rights, at whose expense do we have these rights? In other words, who is going to pay for us to have these rights? For example, who's going to pay for education? Who's going to pay for our shelter, our food? Shouldn't that be up to us to provide? Shouldn't that have some sort of responsibility lying within the human being's actions rather than just being provided for them? So that's one of the problems or controversies that comes up associated with natural law theory. Another problem is that it's hard to determine what's right and wrong using natural law theory. One good example of this would be homosexuality. Some people claim that homosexuality goes against nature and therefore would not be morally correct. But if we take a further look at it, we could make the argument that homosexuality, bisexuality, asexuality, and heterosexuality are types of sexuality that are found in the behaviors of animals, and therefore they could be seen as being natural. And so human beings could also display these various types of sexualities. So here we have two opposing viewpoints about what might be seen as a natural law. Now, natural law theory is normally associated with religious ideas, but there is also a secular portion to it. So in order to support natural law theory, you do not necessarily have to believe in a particular religion. You can support natural law theory without believing in a religion if you still believe that there are certain rights that humans are born with and that our laws should be centered around these rights, that civil laws should be constructed due to these rights that we are born with. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the short lecture on natural law theory, and if you have any questions, go ahead and post a note or feel free to email me. Thanks.